Hi, Celio.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, very good. Very excited with this amazing guest. So I want to catch all beautiful energy and try to do something beautiful for us, for everybody.
Thank you. Okay, I will share how I know you and about our show before I introduce Ryan. But you can start
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
want to, and
See
then
you
we'll talk to you.
later.
We'll talk to you at the end and see what you want to share with us.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, Celio, he's an amazing artist. We actually curated an exhibit together at the Venice Biennale at the end of 2019 in the name of this show, Humanizing the Icon, which was inspired by artwork in my Mary Pickford film. So somebody saw a rough cut and welcomed us to Venice, and I was able to curate an exhibit. And Humanizing the Icon went into everything from spirituality and mythology all the way up to pop culture, kind of like cracking open the paradigm of what is icon, what is human. And it's a lot of people just want to jump to fame, and it's well, we'll see what you think icon really is. But so yeah, Celio is really incredible. So it is so nice to reconnect with you.
I know, after so long. It's so good to see you.
You too. It has been, we shot a film in 2009 that Julie Pacino was directing, and your little brother played my son.
Oh my God, yeah.
And you were what, like 12?
I think so. I can't, like, what year was
2009? Like,
that was 12, was that 12 years ago? 11
something
years
like
ago?
that, yeah.
So yeah, I think I was about 12, which is such a different, bizarre, 12 was a weird year for me.
Okay, why? Let's start there.
So, okay, sure. So my little brother, we're both actors, and both grew up acting together, doing some films together, but regardless, if one of us worked, the other would always go with them to set. And he was doing a film in Pittsburgh that year for 3 months. And so I went with him to Pittsburgh and left all of my friends and left my pets. And I felt like depression for the first time. Because I was also Pittsburgh was not the best. I'm sure it's really fun as someone who can legally drink and do things. But as a 12-year-old, I was like, what the fuck? This is so gloomy and sad. And I was just really, really sad. And that was just the first time I remember feeling like, what's wrong with me? But it was also so special because we moved, we did the stuff in New York with you guys.
Yes.
Which was so special. And we got to meet so many different people and travel so much. It was so cool.
I lost your audio. Wait.
Did you say something? I think I lost you for a second.
Your audio is cutting in and out.
Fuck me. let me try to. Oh my goodness. Okay. Is that better or is that worse?
Is it like a wireless headset? No.
No, it's not. I
can't hear you anymore.
What? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me
Mercury's in retrograde, by the way.
Is this better?
Nope. There. Wait.
Is it worse or better?
I can't hear you.
Fuck. Okay, hang on. Let me try this again.
Now I can hear you through the computer. I just turned my computer back up.
Okay, was that enough?
Which they can hear you this way if that.
This works for me. If you can hear me.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how computers or technology or any of it work. So.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, I see. Because you're freezing on Instagram. I think it's your connection.
My phone is so bad because it's so old.
Okay. We can just roll with it. And if people want to hop over to Facebook, it's Jennifer.r.delia. Oh, there you are. You're back.
Okay. I'm back. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
Well, good.
So you were saying that, so you were like, did you actually experience depression, like to where you had to call attention to it? Like you were like concerned about your state?
I was just like really, really miserable. And the only also like, I mean, you're growing up working on sets, like you are surrounded by people who are older than you all the time. And I got really good at making friends with people who were much older than me, but I was truly had no one my age except for my little brother who was often working. And so I did experience like a very real depression, but I don't think I knew what that was. I think I was very like, everyone feels sadness and that's just what this is. I'm just like sad.
Yeah.
And so I just felt this deep sadness for a long time without really calling attention to it because I didn't want to make people think I was like, I don't know, I thought I was like special or my feelings were like more important than theirs. When in reality, I was experiencing something like totally real and heartbreaking. That was like, I don't know, even if your trauma is like less than another person's, like that doesn't make it invalid.
No.
So I think that's what I was dealing with when I was 12 years old.
Wow. And what movie was Ty doing?
He was doing a movie called The Next 3 Days with Russell Crowe and Elizabeth Banks, who Russell is still like a very close, very good family friend. And it was a really special experience for a lot of reasons. We got our dog Chapin when we were making that movie, who is like still to this day my best friend in the whole world. So yeah.
So you're able to see the like the silver lining and experiences that were really, really challenging.
Yeah, I think you have to, because it's like you go through that, but it's still like it's not all. I mean, it can feel all consuming, especially when you're in it. But you look back and you realize like these lovely little moments that you had to find to get through it, I guess, you know.
That's really beautiful. And that was the first time you had to like leave home for 3 months and like duck out of school for that long?
I actually no, but I wasn't doing it for me, you know. When I was in 3rd grade, did like movie after movie after movie. I think I like only attended like school in person for like 2 months. And that was really hard and confusing as well. And then when I was in 2nd grade, I did a Broadway show and my family and we moved to New York and I was like working like at this theater like every single day. So I'd had those experiences of like intense work and being around not people your age, but they had all been for me and I was the one like doing the work, you know. Whereas on this one, I was very much just there with my little brother while he was doing work and I was like, I don't know, reading a book in Pittsburgh or something, you know.
I just remember like how like intellectually advanced you were and like you felt like such an old soul.
That's very sweet. I get that kind of a lot.
I gathered. Well, speaking of your journey in terms of getting into acting so young and like you say, working with seasoned professionals and just being in the set environment, what has that been like for you in terms of growing up?
It's interesting. I mean, I had a really cool, weird childhood that I'm really grateful for because I was able to do this thing so deeply that never really felt like work when I was a kid. Like there were times where it did just because you get so busy, but you mostly just see it as this like play and this expression. And I, from a really young age, sort of understood acting to be like an escape and like a type of therapy rather than like a work. But it's weird growing up. I never had social issues really, as far as like, oh, I was surrounded by only adults. I didn't know how to talk to kids my own age. Like that was part of it maybe, but I think I did really well considering that. And I was able to mature at a really young age. But what is weird is becoming an adult and suddenly becoming conscious of like the fact that the work you're doing has like a method to it.
Yeah.
To achieve your goals. And that I think is something that like every transitioning young actor goes through and why so many end up struggling for a while in between like being a teenager and being an adult, because it's like you have to sort of relearn what you've been doing your whole life, which is really weird and really scary. But it's also really exciting and fun.
So it's like something that just seemed to come naturally, or they would say you'd have like a raw gift for it. Is something that you're suddenly like, oh, wait, now I'm aware that I'm doing this thing.
Yeah.
It's like becoming aware of breathing. It's like, oh, wait, I've been doing this without thinking about it. And now suddenly I'm being asked to think about it and I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, no, that's exactly, it is like being aware of breathing. You're like, I've been doing this based off of instinct and very natural feeling. And in some ways that's still there. Like if I have to have a best friend in a film or like a sibling in a film, and I think this is also because I've worked with my actual younger brother so much, like I try to build those relationships before we start working so that that chemistry is just like naturally there. And as many things as I can do like that, of like I did one film where my character carried around this ceramic doll with her the entire movie. So for weeks leading up to filming that, I carried around for like a month before I carried around the doll with me, because I was like, well, I need to understand like what this connection feels like. And I think that comes from a place of like when you're a kid going through those things, you're like actually really feeling them. And then you're an adult and you're like, okay, how can I get myself to that place that when I was a child, I was just instinctually like thrown into, you know?
Did you ever go, oh, wait, like I really am talented? Like this wasn't just like a childhood, like happy accident. Like I can actually do this.
I don't know if I ever feel that way. Sometimes you're on a set and it just feels really right. Like the film I did with the doll, that movie was called Lady World, and that felt really special because every single actress on that film, we were all the same age, give or take a few years, and we were all putting in like more effort than we ever had before, and it felt like everyone was sort of in the same boat of that experience of becoming conscious of like breathing and really like putting blood, sweat, and tears into it. And that felt like, oh wow, this is really special that we're able to do this. And the film that I just did also, that I just got back from, there were moments where I was like, wow, I'm really lucky that I really enjoy doing this thing and I'm not terrible at it.
Yeah.
But between every job, I'm always like, oh, I'm a terrible actor. I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing.
I know actors that have been doing it for decades and decades and are some of the most like prolific, legendary actors that, you know, and they still have those feelings.
Yeah, I don't think it ever goes away. I was listening to an interview with Adam Driver a year or so ago. And I think he was asked, like, does it ever get easy? Or like, do you ever show up and just know what you're gonna do? And he's like, no. It always feels like you're throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what sticks. Like it always changes and it always feels like you're grasping at straws. And I think he said like, and if it didn't feel that way, like you wouldn't be doing it. Like if it felt easy, or if you were just had the confidence to be like, yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing, then you wouldn't be doing the actual work that you need to do.
Yeah, it's something, it's almost like more like life than life.
Kind of.
You know, because it's so spontaneous and there's so much vitality in it. And if you're not really present, you're kind of not doing it.
It's this total presence. But the scariest thing for me is that sometimes, I mean, you do as much preparation as you can so that when you're actually there, you feel so present. But then sometimes you discover something while you're like literally in the middle of filming a scene that you're like, holy fuck, I've never considered this before. And it's because you're feeling it in real time. And you're like, so that's what acting is. But you're like, oh my God, like, did I forget to do that? Like, I've never considered that. And we did all of these scenes where I wasn't thinking about that. And like, is this going to work? I don't know. But that's like the magic of it, is it's very present and on your toes. And people, you know, talk about the difference between film versus theater, and that theater is that 100%. But film is almost like that, and every single person's doing it. Like the cameraman also needs to be 1,000% present. You can't just base it off of like a shot list that you came up with before. Like the sound guy's going to find something different every take. And it's up to just the directors to like weave that together, which is really scary.
Yeah, tell me about it. I've been working on my movie for 10 years. Okay, we won't talk about that. There's so many things though. So, okay, shifting a little bit just to being your generation, having your personal experience, like of icon, of the industry, of social media, like all these sort of constructs that you've seen change a lot too as you've grown up. I know I certainly have. Like, how do you feel about these sort of now cliche movements like Me Too and sexual identity and just like this kind of reclamation of power that's kind of going on in a way? Like, what is your stance on these things?
I think it's been a really interesting thing to like come of age during, because I remember when I've always been very passionate about like human rights. Like it's just always been, and I think it's because like I grew up a young woman in an industry sort of controlled by men, but as soon as I stepped into it, that was already starting to change. Like when I was young, when I was really young, I always said like, oh, I want to be a director. Like I want to be the person who's in charge. And I've been talking to people who are a bit older than me now, and they're like, no, I never even had that thought because I never got to work with any female directors. Which is something that I never even, that never even crossed my mind as an issue. And is that because there was more representation, or is that because I was just a dumb kid? I don't know. But I've always been super hyper aware of these things. And I remember at a really young age, someone told me, you can't be an actor and an activist, which I was like, what? Or you have people like Laverne Cox or I even like Rose McGowan, or this Me Too movement thing where the two have become so heavily linked. And it's both really encouraging, but also something I think you have to be really not suspicious of, but you have to check yourself and that conversation constantly. Like, it's really encouraging because I myself feel I was almost never in a situation like a Me Too Harvey Weinstein situation, because that conversation was happening around me as I was growing up. So I knew how to read the signs, and I knew I had the right to, protect myself. But that's also because I was raised by really lovely people, and I was really fortunate that all of the sets I grew up on, for the most part, were like, very protective of me as a young person. But also that conversation, coming about at a time where I was growing up, was hugely protective of me. But there's also, I'm hyper aware of like people making those movements their personality and utilizing that as a means of gains rather than as a means of actually helping people. Whether it's pop feminism, exploiting movements in that way, or whether it's sort of like there's a big conversation of like queer baiting going around right now.
What's that?
So it's almost like posing as gay or queer in some way, and almost using queer as like a buzzword when it has nothing to do with what you're actually doing. A lot of people give slack to a lot of straight actors who play queer characters, which I have my own personal thoughts on.
When you want to share that next?
Yeah, sure. Sure. So so this is my very personal opinion, and what is frustrating is when you see every queer role taken by a straight actor. That sucks. But I also think sexuality is such a fluid thing, at least it is for me personally, that it ebbs and flows in this way that everyone goes through and everyone experiences at some point on some spectrum, that I think it's a totally valid thing to explore through your performance, especially since I use my performance so often to explore like very personal traumas or things I've gone through mentally or my own past, even though it's like through this character. And when Hollywood is so marketed to like teenagers, like it's also based around this youth, And so when you have really young actors, they might not even know whether or not, they're queer at the time that they're taking a role. And I don't think we should limit that to anyone. And I know that's kind of a hot take, and not a lot of people agree with that, and that's totally valid. But I think as long as you're like conscious of the role you're taking on and wanting to do that work and trying to assess the way you fit into it, that's okay. But I know a lot of people don't feel the same way, and I think that's totally fair.
Yeah, I mean, that brings us to this kind of like art life.
Yeah.
Is there a line, and isn't art about the creative process, about the journey of breaking boundaries and like you say, this fluidity, I do kind of, it's interesting because I actually agree with you in the sense that I want everyone to have their own perspective on these things. Like, I think if someone's passionate about it, they wish it was this way or that way, like they should hold true to that. They should have their voice in that. But as an artist myself, I do feel like it's kind of an open landscape for stepping into different cultures and ethnicities and genders and ages. And that's what art is. Like, you get to do this, and it's like, it's exploring a part of the collective psyche. And does it create more division to kind of say, like, you should identify this way in order to be this part? I just wonder.
I think there are certain identities, like sexuality is something that I feel is so fluid with every person, that exploration in that way is fine. But I think it's really important to, in terms of stories about, I mean, I've played men and women and I guess people in between, but I personally identify with all of those parts within myself. And I think it's really special that I have been given that opportunity to, but I also identify as queer in that way. But when it comes to things like gender or like race, I think it's really exciting to be able to give someone who actually has that background the voice to explore that, because then that just sort of adds to the whole art tapestry. And even if it's like, especially as a writer or director, if you want to incorporate those stories into your screenplay or into your story, the opportunity to consult with people who actually are a part of those communities is such a gift. Just to be able to further understand the story that you want to tell and the opportunity that can come out of it, like, I think is really exciting. So I think it's a level of both, of like, sometimes I'm really grateful for the fluidity of like being able to play straight or gay or guy or a girl, but then at the same time, like, I don't at this time identify as a trans man, and I would never do that, play a trans man, I mean. And I would much rather learn by working alongside someone who does identify that way and seeing what they can bring to that role. But I think that's what's exciting, like, we weren't having conversations like this even 10 years ago. I mean, we were starting to with like Laverne Cox, I guess. But yeah.
It feels really fresh.
It is. It's something that we're all learning and exploring and reinventing 24/7. And it's like, have you ever read The Dispossessed by Ursula Le Guin? Okay. So I haven't really either. Like, I did for a class, but like it was a class in like college. But that is about this search for a utopia, and it's about this other alien world that exists that is defined as a utopia. And this physicist from this other world goes there, and this physicist has this theory of the paradox, where it's like, if you throw an apple halfway to a tree, it's only going to get halfway, and you throw it halfway from that point, it's only halfway, and there's this infinite halfway, and you will never actually meet the tree with the apple. And it's this thing of like, you are constantly having to do more work and constantly having to push yourself and your limits, because you're also going to be in a new place and discovering new things each step of the way. And you can't, a utopia can't really exist. The closest we can get to it is like trying to get there, you know? And that's so exciting that we get to see that happening, like in our industry and shit. And it's a really cool book, so you should read it.
That sounds really cool. I'm actually up for, I'm up for a good book. I love that. And it's like, it's perception, and it's like the ability to be able to taste something. It's like when you're flying, you know, you can like see the place, but it's like you're not quite there. And even once you get there, it's not going to be like what you imagined it to be. And it's just this kind of ongoing, like you say, tapestry, you know, it's ever evolving. And this to me is like icon. Like these are all iconic themes and ideas, you know, that I think it's important to recognize that we're all part of this like iconic discovery, you know. And I wanted to ask you, so there's a couple things, because on that same plane, there's like mental health. And I feel like you touched on depression. So this feels really iconic right now too. The way we're discovering like how to be healthy, how to be balanced, what is like sensationalizing to mental health, what's destigmatizing versus like kind of glamorizing it. So I wonder just like, again, what your take on that is, because I find it really interesting to ask this question.
That's a really good question. I did a research paper. This is slightly different, but it's kind of the same thing. I did a research paper at Berkeley. It was like a semester long research paper on depictions of rape in film, and the effect that has on an audience. And in doing that, I watched a bunch of contemporary American films that depicted that, and also spoke to audiences, you know, people I knew who were in the industry, who had nothing to do with the industry, who had been affected by that type of trauma, who hadn't been, just to see like, is it worth it to even show that in any degree? And what I sort of realized was, in our representations of these traumas, it's so often sold to us as like one way, as one thing that we receive almost, the word validation is not right, because it can be so invalidating. Like in talking to people about these experiences, so many people told me like, well, I experienced, it was nothing like that, but I experienced this. And if you want to call it a trauma, like, sure. But it's like, no, that's incredibly valid, what you're talking about. Like, that's something you lived through and are always going to have a part of you. And just because, you know, how they show it on Game of Thrones doesn't match what you experience. And so I think, and there was one big part of the conversation was, do you know the film Elle?
Yeah, I didn't see it.
Okay, I recommend watching it. It's very controversial. But it follows this older woman who is assaulted in that way and has a really specific reaction that is one that people I spoke to have had, but I had never seen represented on film before. And it's really just this thing of like, I think representing these types of traumas or mental illnesses is very valid, but we can't just be telling the same story over and over again. Like, it's not just representations of people, it's also like making sure we're covering all the bases, not in one story, but just like in all of our stories, and being aware that there are more than just we're telling. And I think also being aware that there are people out there who are going to receive this, and there's a responsibility that needs to be met there. And so when it comes to things like mental illness, I think if it's done with the right amount of care and research and thought, and you have the awareness of like, I'm not trying to be the voice for like depression or for all survivors. I'm just trying to tell my one story, and I'm going to consult with a lot of other people who have had similar experiences or experiences very different to build the right thing that I'm trying to depict. Like, I think that's all you can do, right? And as far as glamorizing it, I mean, there are plenty of shows that do that and plenty of films that do that. Like, I remember the British teen show Skins that I was obsessed with growing up. totally glamorized so many types of traumas just by almost making it a personality trait or the full characteristic rather than fully exploring that person and how that was a part of their chemistry rather than the whole thing of it in a way that was very like quirky, you know?
Yep.
And I think it's okay to have people exist in your story to talk about certain issues like that, you know? If you want to have a character that suffers with depression, that's totally valid, but they need to be more than just like an example of depression that serves the protagonist's viewpoint in some way.
Yeah, that's well said. And because like body dysmorphia and like body image, that kind of thing is really prevalent still, right? Like
Totally.
yeah, it's wild.
It's scary. I mean, it's a huge thing that like as I've grown older, have become really aware of, and that's something that I think in a lot of ways the industry hasn't shifted on. Like I think we've grown a lot when it comes to sexuality and gender. I think we're growing when it comes to racial representations, but as far as different body types, like, because we see a film and we are sold that that is what reality looks like, because even just the way that films are constructed, like the camera is treated as an eyeball, but there's a billion things and $1 billion going into this movie to convince you that this is all real. And then so in selling that reality, you're selling like what one type of person looks like, because in so many Hollywood movies you just get a bunch of hot people, which is like, I love to look at hot people, I get it, but people can also be hot and not just like super ripped dudes, you know? And I don't think that's something that we've like pushed far enough, is really showing like different types of bodies and how people live in them. But it's also a hard conversation to have on set because it makes everybody uncomfortable talking about your own body and how you feel in it, you know?
Definitely. And to know that the hot bodies aren't necessarily that hot. Hot in the flesh, right? Like that part of that $1 billion is going to like the lighting and our Instagram went away.
Oh no, Instagram. I'm so sorry.
Let's see. Maybe I'll come back. I don't know how this all works. But yeah, just like so much is going to erasing things, blemishes, or reconstructing someone's actual body. And it's a false kind of sense of what's going on, you know, and so much is just, it's like energy, you know.
Fully lose the Instagram live.
Oh,
it went away.
okay. We're telling your followers that you started a live video, so maybe you can come back, or we'll just finish on Facebook. We'll just
I can I'm gonna make a post and tell people to go see it. Hang on one second. Live with.
Okay, Ryan. Okay, I just invited you on Instagram Live, so
I'll be there.
maybe there will be a part 2. I don't know.
And at Jen. Sorry. Oh, social media is so funny.
I know.
He's so funny.
Right, we got backup.
Okay, cool. I'm going live with you. How do I wait? Did you invite me? My phone is so old. My manager wants to kill me over my phone. Like,
really?
Yeah, it just doesn't ever do anything.
Okay, we'll try. I'll invite you one more time and then whatever. Ryan. Okay, there. Invited again.
Why don't I see it?
Are you on my page?
Yeah, I am.
Oh shit. Yeah, maybe. Says Ryan is unable to join.
Freaking! I never said no. Wait, can you invite me one more time?
Yeah. Ryan.
Maybe if I turn my internet on and off.
All right, I've invited you again.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This drawing is really nice.
Oh, that looks cool.
That's
I'm excited to see that. And we were getting to such a fun part of our conversation.
I know.
I love talking about representations and
That's really cool.
see how it works.
Well, I can, let me see. I can always put the full playback on. Interesting. I might have, yeah. We'll get the playback off of this one.
Okay, sick. And add it too. That sounds cool.
Yeah, I don't know why it's doing this.
It's a really great writer I read. Oh, I don't have the book here.
Okay, I think I'm actually live again now.
On Instagram? Okay, I see you. Oh, hello. I'm on.
This is so funny.
Request. I requested to be in the live.
Hey. Review request. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Am I on? Oh, accepted. I'm joining the live. This is magical. Look at us.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, I was just saying that it's just really sad that people, especially young girls, like really think that they need to literally lose 100 pounds and be like 20 pounds.
Completely. I also, one thing I've been thinking about a lot recently is my being 23 and playing a teenager, which is super common in our industry, but I don't look the way I did when I was like 16 years old. Like, I'm bigger in different places. And it's almost this weird, in the way that, is that your cat?
Yeah, Houdini. Yeah.
But the way that teenage girls are even written in scripts is so often like beautiful, but she doesn't know it, or like gonna be a sexy lady, or just things like that. And when you have an adult playing that made up kid, it almost feels like a weird type of grooming. Oh, hello, kitty. Hopefully he wants to join the conversation.
He does. He wants to. But yes,
but it's like, and it's this really unfortunate thing of, I don't know. I think that's why so many young women specifically, but young people in general in our industry, get put in such scary, vulnerable situations, because teenagers are trying to look like adults and adults are trying to look like teenagers, and it's really bizarre. And I just did a film where I played 16, and there was this really vulnerable, really sad moment where my character was supposed to show nudity, and it was I thought a really important moment for the film, but I was like, I'm not going to do that because I don't look the way I did when I was 16. Like,
oh wow, okay, yeah.
Like I that's not to say I think a 16-year-old should go and do that, like, you know, but I don't think we need to show kids in that light at all. It's important if it's like, if you want to show a representation of a kid in a shitty situation where that happens, like we did in this film. But I was like, but the way my chest looks, it's not how I looked then. And I don't want to make a kid freak out over that by lying to them. And it's just this weird responsibility you have to show your body. Or sometimes I'll be put in an outfit that I really feel gross in, just because it's not the way I like to wear clothes. And it's not the way I like my body to look. But maybe it's showing off parts of my body that I don't like because they're not normally shown in movies. And I'm like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to get over it and show them anyways, you know? It's this weird thing that I've very suddenly recently become conscious of, trying to be better about, specifically because I'm an adult playing a kid all the time.
Yeah. Do you think like there is this theme of unworthiness that like kind of permeates the psyche a bit, to where it is hard to see our own beauty? Like, why? Why is that?
I think it's because of what we're saying. Like, we even if it's not in film, like even if you don't watch movies, you see billboards, or you'll be playing.
What is that thing in the
what in the background?
in front of your face, like in my frame?
Oh, it's my phone.
Oh,
Sorry,
like, that
that's my
looks
phone.
so funny.
You're like, what is that? My bad.
I was like, that looked like a balloon or something.
Yeah, that was my phone.
Okay, no problem.
Sorry.
Um,
But even if you're not watching film, you're gonna see billboards and you're gonna have ads pop up on your phone. And now Instagram has become a part of this like cycle of representations as well, where we put so much effort in to look effortless, especially
I know.
I know, yeah, we do, but in films, so many films, the baseline goal is realism or ultra realism even, but we have a bunch of people doing our makeup, and like we have like fashion
Yes.
people like styling us, and we have these lights and all these things, so we are just constantly being sold that we're not enough because we don't look like this thing that like literally doesn't exist, and it's like so fucked.
And we're so programmable.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
these images are really, they are iconic. Like it's like we're them and they're us. It's these projections,
It is of this thing you want audiences to see themselves in your characters. So you want to be a mirror, but you also are a mirror that is like perfected. So it's this really fucked up thing of like almost getting to that point, but not quite being there, this like uncanny valley that like breaks your brain and the way you perceive yourself and everything.
So many lies. What are we gonna do?
It's all lies. Well, I took an avant-garde feminism class when I was in college that I honestly didn't love, but and that's not because of the subject, that's because of the professor I had. But anyways, one realization I had was like, maybe realism is like absolute bullshit, and sometimes it's beautiful. I'm a massive fan of like Sean Baker, like or Andrea Arnold. Like it can be such a gorgeous thing, but we try to treat the camera like an eyeball, and it's not an eye. It's anything but an eyeball, and we can break worlds and go to these incredible, bizarre places with it. Why are we like limiting ourselves to sell this lie?
Where do you want to see us go with it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think, God, recently I've been getting, well, okay, then you have people like Terrence Malick, who make these movies that feel very real in the way the camera moves. The camera feels very alive and finds these very like little hidden moments with the actors, but at the same time, they all feel like fairy tales and these like fantasy films. Like Days of Heaven is like the most beautiful film I've ever seen in the whole world. And it's not that it's necessarily surrealist in any way, but it just transports you to this other existence. Like that movie is so American, but it doesn't feel like it's set in like Earth's America to me. It feels like this weird realm outside of like time or
time
space.
is outside. Yep.
It is completely. So I guess that is cool.
I mean, that is where we are.
What do you mean?
I mean, we're vast, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, why are we limiting ourselves? It's such a good question.
And I
guess we can only be where we are as a species, as a collective.
But we can push that, or we can try to. And a lot of
is COVID pushing it? Helping or
maybe. I mean, that's one cool thing that we've seen come about. Cool or horrible, I'm not sure. But the films that we see that are all like on the computer, like the Unfriended movies or the movie Searching with John Cho, that I think is actually really great. Like that's so, and I know Mark Duplass just released a romance film over Zoom. That's such a cool and kind of scary question of like, so much of our reality takes place over this medium. Like why don't we explore how the eyeball works like within that? And it's really cool. It's also, sometimes it feels really flashy and sort of like a gimmick maybe, but I think it's a cool thing to work to explore. and get towards. Or even how Sean Baker like filmed Tangerine on an iPhone. Like that sounds maybe initially like a gimmick, but it is really, you know, he did that to serve the performance of these two women who had never acted before, to my knowledge, that they had never acted before, and got like some of the most incredible performances of all time out of them. Like that's so cool. So I hope maybe COVID's doing it. COVID has done it to me in that when I do work on a film now, I feel so grateful in a way that I haven't in a long time to just be around people and to be able to have this like deep intimacy and connection with these people. And it feels like a really lucky little magic space to get to exist in. And I think that makes our performances and our presence only that much more real because we've been shut off for it. And I've also begun to realize like I need to give everything that I possibly can right now because I don't know the next time that I'm going to be able to. So when it serves the scene or the film or the character, I'm just gonna put it all out on the line, I guess. And I didn't necessarily feel that way before COVID. So
gratitude, you found more depth and gratitude and just
intense gratitude
appreciation for
and
the
like,
craft.
And like desperate presence, kind of.
Yeah.
In a way that was like, I don't know the next time I get to do this. So I have to do it now. Like in so many ways, especially when you're not working on a set, it feels like your industry is dying. We see movie theaters collapsing and, you know, studios shuttering and it can be so sad and so scary. So when you're there, I'm just like, I'm gonna like bleed onto the lens. Like I'm just gonna fucking go for it.
It's so cool.
Sometimes it doesn't work like that. Sometimes you need to be a lot more reserved, and that's really fun and cool too. But the last film I did, I played just this insane 16-year-old. And
in what in the one you did in Mill Valley?
Mill Valley.
I like Fear Street, Mill.
Fear Street, Mill Valley. Well, Fear Street's also a crazy 16-year-old, but she was different.
Cool.
Fear Street, yeah. In Fear Street, she was just this really sad projection of fun, and like who was just like, okay, fuck it, I'm gonna project like I don't give a fuck, and I am so desperate to live as much as I can. Whereas in this film, the character was similarly chaotic, but more, she had so much privilege that she wasn't aware of. So she was able to go too far, like all the time, and was almost desperately trying to be shut down and told no. And so that was really freeing, and that I was just like, this girl is crazy and has never been told no before and has no social cues. So I'm just gonna fucking go for it. And it was exhausting and it was really fun.
Oh my God. I'm like, we really do have to do something together. Like,
I'm down. I'm always down.
My work's been declared by many avant-garde. I like never used that. See, I didn't study film and I'm not even like a film buff. Like I've seen a lot of obscure stuff and like I know like really weird things about weird things and like not a lot about most things like in terms of film
Cool.
I love like
sure.
I love like quantum mechanics and like relativity and weird shit like that, but that's a part of it, you know, like that's a part of like this exploration and these dimensions and like what we can do, you know. But as I'm listening to you talk, I'm like, we can go places. It sounds really fun.
It is fun. It's so fun. It's so fun to just let yourself become a different human being for a month. But it can also be really, this last month of me working on this movie was a big exercise in separating myself from the person I was playing. Because I so often use it for therapy, which I still do and I still did. But I was like, this girl is so toxic. Like, you cannot be this person. Like, you really need to pump the brakes a little bit on your off days because you're being nuts. But that was fun. That was a fun exercise too.
Well, it's like really refreshing to hear you talk because you've gone through a lot. You've lived many lives and worn many hats. You know, I think we all do in our own way. But you have like just such a playfulness still. Like you don't seem jaded. Do you ever feel jaded?
Yeah, all the time. But I
Yeah.
also, I mean, it's just easy to, but I think I do love my playfulness, and I think it's because I do love movies, like more than anything else. I love watching movies and making films. And I think that's because I was a part of it when I was so young, and it was just fun to me. And so I know how important that fun is while you're working. Because I also know while our films hold so much weight, and you know, we've been talking about how they shift like reality for so many people, like that's totally true. At the same time, we're not like curing cancer or building rockets. Like we're doing really silly, stupid stuff. So it's important to like have fun with it. And I think that's
Yeah.
part of like I gained that from being like a kid or doing this, which is really
Yeah.
special, and I hope I don't ever lose that.
Did you know you were working with such like at the time iconic people? As you were coming up, you worked with some really amazing talent.
Yeah, I sort of like I had seen like I worked with Coppola. I had seen The Outsiders and
Mhm.
loved The Outsiders. I didn't know what like a giant he was. I knew he was important, but I was like, oh, he made The Outsiders. I love that film. And I didn't realize what a bizarre special experience it was getting to work with Francis Ford Coppola. When I was like 11 or however old, I was like, I'm just here doing the thing. When I worked with like Leonardo DiCaprio, I had seen Titanic and Gilbert Grape. And it was very much that thing of like, oh, those are really special, really great roles, but I didn't understand again what a giant was.
Mhm. And did you
But I
feel
think
that? I think it's kind of cool for people to hear. Like, did you feel that in his presence, or it was very human? It was a very humanizing experience.
so humanizing. I mean, this was, you know, I haven't met the man in like 10 years or something,
Yeah.
but he was very sweet. I was just a kid. You don't have to be nice to kids on sets.
Yeah.
But he walked up to me and he was like, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Leo. What's your name?" He would like play with me and Ty. He like bought us like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Mhm.
He was really, really thoughtful and kind. You know, like Francis asked me a lot of questions about myself and made sure that I felt a part. The Coppola experience was crazy because we filmed in this little ghost town. Our whole entire set was this one ghost town that no one lived in anymore, and it was just us. And all of the cast stayed on a barn on his vineyard that had been converted into like a inn. And it was really communal and really special in that way. Like it didn't feel like, you know, you're on set of like Iron Man or something. Like it, and I think those are the more special they are, the more like close knit and collaborative it can all feel, I guess.
And like kind of tribal. It's like a sacred space
It
of like
is. It so is.
meeting of like the vision and the mind. And yeah.
Yeah. And some people, you know, don't feel like that. I've worked with some people who were these big giants and they know it and they like let you know it.
And they're probably profoundly insecure and we have a lot of compassion, but it's not nice.
Yeah, it cannot feel good, but it's something that it's, you know, they're also like very talented and have worked very hard. And it's something that you, in interacting with that, just have to remember like, oh, I'm so grateful that I get to experience like this talent of this person. And I hope I'm never like that as a human being. And it just reminds you of like the things you are grateful of and the experiences you are grateful for, you know. But I haven't had many
the people you do want to surround yourself with. Like it's kind of like a cosmic like filter. It's like, all right, check, never again, thank you. Yeah.
No, truly, like I don't know. It's so less about like their, to me at least, like their names and where they've been, and more like, do I respond to like on the most basic level like the work that they do, and do I enjoy their company? And like those are the people that I want to work with. Yeah.
It's so cool. And I think, we've talked through the lens of the industry that we're in, but these things really apply to life, like playfulness and loving what you do, and healthy boundaries, and like all these things you kind of covered, representation, like it's just sort of like applicable, I feel, across the board. So it's really, really cool.
I hope so. I hope in loving.
Someone just said this is so insightful. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I'm so glad. I hope you feel it. It means so much. I've been getting a lot of like letters recently from people who have watched Fear Street. Specifically a lot of queer teenagers who were like, this means so much to me to see this on screen. And it's like, it means so much to me that you're able to see it and respond to it and feel it. Like that's so, because you make this thing and it does feel so tribal and insular, and you just hope that anyone gets to see it at all. And then to hear that it actually touches people is crazy. And it means so much. And it's a whole different level of like why you're doing it,
Yeah. So cool. I am so excited to reconnect. And I want to actually, I don't know if I want to show Celio's art on Instagram. How would I do it?
I want to see it. Yeah.
I'll turn the camera to my computer. Wait.
Yeah, you can do that.
Wait,
I can see I can see me.
Wait,
I can do it. You do
it. I'm bad at this.
Let me pin. Okay, it's pixelated, but
there it is.
That's really cool.
All right, we're gonna go to Facebook and talk about it. I'm gonna get off of Instagram, so I'm gonna say goodbye. You have a lot of people from all over the world on Instagram.
Hi, everyone from all over the world.
Talking a lot in Portuguese. I think you got a lot of Brazilians that follow you.
Love Brazil.
Me too. Me too.
I've never been, but one day.
Oh, I love it so much. All right, thank you, Instagram.
Thanks for having me.
Yes. All right. We're going to just shoot over to the computer. All right,
I'm sick.
Going off of Instagram. And now share to IGTV.
Okay, wait.
Okay. So
now I'm refiguring out my headphones to the computer. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Amazing. Hello.
Celio.
So cool.
Can you come and talk to us?
Okay. So today is happened amazing girl draw. So we have many things inside. It's happened very fast. So we see a very beautiful transparent hope and somebody with a very powerful energy.
Wow.
This energy push on you, this energy, you see?
That's so cool.
You are not static, you are in movement. You are in movement from energy. Somebody very powerful, it's all woman happen. So this woman is very energetic for you, is very powerful woman, and the ray and energies move you, so you are in direction, you understand? So you have all this energy from this person, can give you a lot of energy and then keep you not static but in movement. We have another very nice sweet woman. Can look it down, and this from the throat. So they show all you this a Gothic part, like a Gothic doors, like old church doors, with the secret part, and the light in the end you see is the end light. Is your path, but from your path, from behind, from downstairs, so the other don't know you. So you decide your path, personal path, very, very close inside to you, from your soul. This is your soul.
Whoa.
But they say, maybe it's your mom, and say, you have to follow this path by hand from back and see your light, and you build your building. You see, is your building. You build
Wow.
all your building from your path. In this corner, we see a curious. This is a man. This is many men, all curious. It's curious. You see the eyes, the mouth. You see.
Mm-hmm.
So this is another man. This is another man. This is another man. But it's behind. I don't know why this happened like this. So I want to respect the draw, because the perception made this. So I give freedom to my hand, and all happened. And we have flowers. We have flower. The other side, one side is curious, people talking about you, something. One flower happened because they make question what happened, who is he, what do, understands what she do. The other side is clean. It's only one flower, like pure, like is this. So the energy push you in this direction. In the same direction, we have a flower. So you look for a beautiful, the face is the transparent hope. You are very nice. You are very, maybe a little tired, but you see, you are not scared. You are not terrified, you
You're
are not
fearless.
stressful.
Yeah.
So little tired, but you know your path is okay, your energy is good. The battery is amazing. A mother or the best friend, this is the throat, the voice, and say, put you in this corner, say, follow your path from your back, from in, underwear, you understand, under, you follow your light, and you build your building. Curious and flower. This is what's happened in 40 minutes today.
So you have a lot of light under you and coming through you.
That sounds
Yeah,
so nice. That's beautiful. That's really incredible that you were able to make all of this, and it feels so good to look at. Like I feel so light looking at this.
Wow.
I think it's you, because this is the energy uh, coming from you. So I perceive this, and this happened. So I only read what's up. You understand?
I like this idea of you being a little tired because you just came off a movie.
I am a little tired. Definitely a little
Yeah.
tired, but feeling good, I guess.
And I like this, like, he kind of presented this like mystique around you and like this curiosity people have about you. And it's like very exciting.
Oh, that feels so, I don't know why. It's almost like, do you ever get a tarot reading and you're like, oh, okay, that's where I'm supposed to go? That's what
Yes.
this feels like. This feels very encouraging and just nice.
Your path. He kept saying your
Yeah,
path.
my path. And that feels really nice to know that I'm on one at all, I guess.
It's a secret path. It's a secret path. It's your path. Nobody know you walk inside of there. Try to know, but they don't see you.
Yeah.
Your light.
That's like a quote by Ryan. It's nice to know I'm on one at all.
I love that. It is a secret little path that maybe makes sense to me.
Yes, somewhere inside. Yeah, that's so good. Thank you, Celio.
Yes, I switched the camera. So, okay.
Thank you so much, Celio. That was beautiful.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
What was the book title again?
The Dispossessed.
The Dispossessed. Okay.
It's a great, I mean, she's a phenomenal, Ursula K. Le Guin. She's phenomenal.
Sounds like an epic
Yeah.
film in the making? I like got visuals when you were
Oh,
talking.
The Dispossessed?
Yeah.
It's a crazy, it's a very visual book too. All of her stuff is really crazy, sci-fi, feminist. She also has an incredible fantasy series, but you should definitely read it.
I'm gonna check this out. Okay, cool. This was amazing. This was really fun.
I know, I'm so glad we got to do this. Thank you guys so much. This was so special.
Yeah, and when the episode's up on the channel, I'll tell you.
Yeah, please do.